Let's start third down, our next topic, with a serious issue going on right now with Matt Jones of the Jags. He was jailed on Monday after he violated terms of his probation, and that was for a plea deal in a drug possession case that was back in July. October, he reached the plea deal. He was suspended for the last 3 games of the season for violating the NFL's substance abuse policy. Look at what Roger Goodell has to face now. What do you think he should do?
This is a tough call for me, and I'm going to tell you why. I thought the guy should have definitely received a stiff suspension. You get busted with some cocaine. This is what, according to the police report, you know, you need to be dealt with a lot more harshly. When he got busted the first time last July, and you get busted with that, you need to be dealt with a heavy hand, and this should be something more stiffer than a 3-game suspension. This follow-up situation is dicey because essentially he violated the terms of his probation because he drank a couple of beers. So it's like they say that you stay away from alcohol, but again, you know, just going down the middle, you violated your probation, you have to be dealt with. The problem is, the question was about Goodell. Right. It's the NFL. What you gonna do? Knock the guy for drinking a couple of beers? Especially when, in terms of having your product subsidized and supported, who's bigger than the beer companies? I mean, you could throw the automobile industry or the banking industry before this economic downturn, but beer distributors, I mean, you talk about somebody subsidizing the NFL product, how you gonna sit there? This guy can sit there and say, listen, man, while we waiting to play on Sunday afternoons, I'm watching the games and I see Budweiser commercials every time I turn around. So I decided to have a couple of drinks. What are you gonna say? So it's very tough for me to condemn him under those circumstances.
I am also struggling with this because I wanted to criticize Goodell last year for not coming down harder, but he was hamstrung by the judge's rather astonishing ruling that Matt Jones could get out of the felony charge if he simply went to drug rehab, right?
Yes.
Which was, and again, he was a first-time offender, but I was, what?
It's crack.
I don't get it. I can't explain it. It's out of my league. But the point was, Goodell finally said, okay, 3 games at the end of the year. So he missed the last 3 years. And I must say, in fairness to Matt Jones, I was misled last night when I read the first accounts that he was arrested for possession of a controlled substance. And I thought, here he goes again. So here he goes down the tubes. He's out now. No, all he did, as you say, I don't know if he drank just a couple. I don't know what he drank.
But he said he had a couple.
He admitted it to the judge. The judge said he was very compliant.
Okay, but the point is, bottom line here, he violated probation, and he will, I think he's choosing to do the jail time, which I think is 10 days.
Yeah, but you got to remember, the argument here, the question was about Goodell. We know from a lawful standpoint, the judge makes a ruling, you can't violate your probation. You violate your probation, you've got to take the penalty. You do the crime, you got to do the time. But what about Goodell?
Okay, perception, reality. I think he has to suspend Matt Jones again for 3 or 4 games. I do, because he just went back to jail for 10 days.
I can't do that. Not for a couple of beers, because that's a walk in hypocrisy. Because of all the beer distributors supporting the NFL. No, I can't do that.
Let's move on to another topic in the NFL that's also off the field. This got a lot of buzz yesterday, especially on the internet when people started reading about it. An Eagles employee, Dan Leone, was fired by the team. Now, what happened is, after Brian Dawkins became a Bronco, after that trade, he was upset. He's a fan. He works for the team also. And on his Facebook page, he put up a quote that was not so nice about his team. Said, he was devastated about Dawkins signing with Denver. It went on, had an expletive on there. He later took it down. He apologized to the team, and yet he was fired anyway. Was this a justified firing?
Absolutely. This is cut and dried, open and shut. Stephen A. Smith, if you are going to call your employer retarded in a public forum, you are going to get fired, especially if you're a very part-time employee who worked only in the stadium operations, 10 games, 10 home games a year? Hey, I don't care. You can apologize all you want. If you do that and use the expletive, you're out.
First of all,
and you know it.
Seriously, let's be serious about this here, all joking aside. You don't ever condone anybody speaking against their employer. It's career suicide. It's not intelligent. It's not intelligent. It's counterproductive. I get all of that, okay? But the guy was a fan. He was a part-time employee. You're certainly not in a publicized position. You're having to deal with the police, basically a custodial worker, for crying out loud. And then you go there and you react to one of your favorite players who has been traded, and you put it on Facebook. Nobody knows who you are. They don't know that you're an employee of the Philadelphia Eagles. It was, I don't want to say innocent in a literal sense, but it was clearly an impromptu emotional reaction to having one of your players leave. You know how rabid fans are and how they can be. It was an instantaneous reaction. He recognized he made a mistake, and that was that. What really disturbs me about this whole thing is that, you know what, in this economic downturn we're experiencing, you got a lot of companies, a lot of corporations, everybody's looking for an excuse to get rid of people. You understand? And it was stupid of him to put himself in a position where he ended up being fodder for the organization and what their ultimate agenda is in terms of, you know, downsizing. But my God, this economic downturn, the way that it's affecting American families throughout this country, this guy gets emotional, he makes a mistake, you just gonna get rid of him? You that daggone sensitive? Give me a break.
Coming up in fourth down, reigning National Player of the Year Tyler Hansbrough once again as the Tar Heels atop the latest ranking.